We're going to be taking a look at some of Thor's best moments. Since arriving in the MCU, Chris Hemsworth has done a fantastic job of portraying Thor on screen. He's always been a key hero in the Avengers franchise, and a lot of people love him. Back when we first saw Thor in 2011, we learned that there were a lot of layers to him. But throughout the years, the MCU has continued to expand upon the character throughout the different phases. In Phase 4, we're going to see another Thor movie, Love and Thunder. So today we thought it would be a good idea to go over some of Thor's best moments so far in the MCU. Number 1. During the first Thor movie, we saw him banished from Asgard down to Earth without any of his powers because he had become quite an annoyance, which in its own way was a villain that he had to overcome. He met Jane Foster and a few other characters as well, and they helped him to overcome his arrogant ways, which led him to become truly worthy of having his powers back. We see the Destroyer unleashed and attack Thor and his new friends, and during this intense moment, we see the hero sacrifice himself in order to save others. This proved that Thor was worthy of wielding his hammer, Mjolnir, once more, and so that was the case. He saves the day, but he also makes it pretty clear that he has completely changed and he's no longer arrogant. It was a pretty great moment to see Thor become truly worthy once more, and so it had to be added to today's list. Number 2. We can all agree with this next moment and say that it was one of the best, if not the best moment from Thor. When he entered Wakanda in Avengers Infinity War, everybody went crazy. It's fair to say that Infinity War was pretty dramatic, but Thor's entrance to Wakanda was the best part, in my opinion. With the help of Rocket the Raccoon and Groot, Thor heads to Nidavellir to see Eitri so that he can get help making a new weapon known as Stormbreaker. The moment where he enters Wakanda is one of the film's most standout moments, and it was a pretty glorious entrance at that. Thor really is a badass, and within this moment, he only proved that even more. Number 3. Thor Ragnarok is a pretty great movie. We get to see the character of Thor develop this time around, and it was pretty awesome. One of the best moments though from this movie involving Thor was when he first meets his sister Hela. When they have their first encounter, Hela ends up destroying Mjolnir, which meant Thor was left weaponless. Thor thinks that without his hammer he can't do anything, and he becomes pretty upset about it. But after Hela tries to destroy her little brother many times over, we finally get a moment where he realizes he's much more than just a guy with a hammer. Hela says to Thor, "What are you god of again?" And it's within this moment that he realizes that he never was the god of hammers or anything, and he was the god of thunder. He realizes that he didn't need his hammer in order to use his true powers, finally. And it was a great moment overall. But let's admit it, it was pretty badass to see all that lightning.
What were you the god of again?
After Thanos snapped his fingers and turned the world upside down, Hulk and Rocket go to seek out Thor, and they are met with someone who they didn't quite recognize. The hero was very different and quite frankly didn't think that he could help anybody anymore, because he failed at defeating Thanos. The idea behind a god like Thor being completely emotionally broken was pretty insane and quite intense, to be honest. However, it was pretty great to see Thor bounce back and go back into battle mode, just like nothing ever happened. He sticks with it until the very end, and it's very admirable. We also got to see him wield Stormbreaker and his trusty old hammer Mjolnir at the same time as well, so that was pretty awesome.
Let's kill him properly this time.
Number 5. Although it was kind of sad to see Hulk and Thor go up against each other for the first time, it was still one of Thor's best moments, in my personal opinion. Everyone knows that Thor has always been fearless and does not back down from any battle, no matter who his opponent is or what they can do. He just doesn't let anybody be above him. During the Avengers, Hulk and Thor go up against each other, and the best part about this battle was that when Thor threw his hammer and Hulk catches it, but he's pinned down to the ground. I don't know why, but I just find this so amazing. Number 6. We've already made a point in this video where we said that Thor had to get a new hammer, and it was called Stormbreaker. Well, when it came to actually making this hammer in Avengers Infinity War, Thor had to open the forge on Nidavellir. He literally took a full-on blast from a star and survived. He had to keep the forge open so Eitri could make his new hammer for him, and at this moment Thor proves how powerful he really is. Next, we have a pretty hilarious moment from Thor Ragnarok, where we see Thor tell a story about when he and Loki were children and Loki pretended to be a snake. Thor explained that when he was a child, he loved snakes, and so Loki decided to trick him by turning into one. So he would go up and pick it up to admire it. Loki then transformed back into himself and he was like, "Yeah, it's me," and then he stabbed Thor. He then ends the statement by saying, "We were 8 at the time." It sounds like a pretty vicious moment from Loki, not gonna lie, but the way that Thor tells the story is what makes it so hilarious. I have to admit that it's really all down to the actor Chris Hemsworth and his humor though. Chris really is a great actor and he portrayed Thor amazingly.
So I went to pick up the snake to admire it, and he transformed back into himself and he was like, "Yeah, it's me!" And he stabbed me. We were 8 at the time.
Number 8. After Thor is banished down to Earth without his powers, he befriends some people and they take him to enjoy a meal in a cafe where he has a drink that he really enjoys. In classic Thor fashion, he throws the mug on the ground and shouts, "This drink, I like it, another!" It was a pretty arrogant moment from Thor, but his fans loved it because it just showed who he really was down to the core. He had no idea that smashing a mug would be seen as weird, and it made for a pretty great moment.
This drink, I like it.
I know, it's great, right?
Another!
Sorry, Izzy, little accident.
Number 9. The fight scene between Hulk and Thor during Thor Ragnarok was pretty intense. Thor is so ecstatic when he finds out that it's Hulk he's going to be fighting, and he shouts, "He's a friend from work!" thinking that everything would stop and he wouldn't have to fight Bruce. But he was very wrong. Hulk didn't recognize Thor as a fellow Avenger, and therefore released his full rage onto him. Audiences retreated to some of the best fight scenes that the MCU has ever created, and it was awesome. Number 10. And last but not least, we have a moment from Avengers Endgame where we see Thor pass on leadership to Valkyrie as the Queen of Asgard. It's a great moment because we don't know what's going to happen to him next. What's going to happen in this new chapter of his life, where he is no longer the King of Asgard. It seems as though at this moment the hero finally became happy and he was at peace with himself after all these years of battling, and it was pretty rewarding to witness.
You know, I'd make a lot of changes around here.
I'm counting on it. Your Majesty.
That's all for today though. What'd you think of this list? Let us know in the comments what you thought. But with that being said, this is the end of the video, so I'll see you in the next one.